Well, hello everybody, and welcome back. It is that time again. It is the first round of another AOR GT3 season. We are back on Project Cast 2 for the 12th season overall, the 5th one on the most recent game after having done 7 seasons previously on the first Project Cast game. My name is Fisi, and I am going to be one of your commentators throughout this season, along with, of course, the Project Cast legend himself, Yorkie065. Hello!
Hello! Welcome to the guys in the stream and in the chat. We are here with coverage for round 2, and we are just getting away with our qualifying session, which is 10 minutes in total, and there's about 8 minutes and 40 odd seconds remaining. So I think it'll probably be a good idea to introduce the drivers to the viewers that we have here for season 12, Fizzy.
Certainly would be a good thing to do that. First of all, we're just going to mention that we are at Brands Hatch for the first round of the season, which is on the intro screen. And some of you probably recognize the track as well, of course, a very famous British little circuit, which is a lot of fun to drive, in my opinion. One of my better tracks, I think I can say for myself, and I'm sure a lot of these drivers will be enjoying driving around here as well. Overcast weather for tonight's qualifying and the race is what is forecasted, so no wet weather to be seen in the air. But as for the drivers then, unfortunately I haven't had time to prepare a comprehensive list structured to give an overview of all the drivers. What I do know is that we have the reigning 3-time champion back on the grid with us. That is, of course, Jadier running here as he is about to start his first lap of this 10-minute qualifying session. Jadier is in the Lamborghini still for this season. I believe that's what it was running last season as well, in that lemon Lambo when he won his 3rd championship. So he's staying with that car. Then, of course, let's see who else we got. Yorkie, I think you could just shuffle through all the names in any given order, just because.
Okay.
Then at least we get through all the drivers.
I was going to go through the entire list from top to bottom, but because drivers have started putting on laps, it's obviously going to start shuffling. So, first one that we have here is THR Operator. He is running in the Mercedes AMG, as you can see. Cryptic TMG is in the McLaren. CJB is returning once again in the Lamborghini, as is Dowking. However, Dowking this time is in that Mercedes AMG in the Hot Wheels livery, as you can see there on screen. We've got Bo just coming out of the pit lane in the McLaren. AD Ace is making a return, and he's in the Audi R8, as we can see. JK is again returning from season 11. He's in the McLaren 650S this time. Dakuza is out in the old Mercedes SLS. It's been a while since I saw one of those.
Yeah, I think it's been a few seasons at least. SLS was not a popular choice in season 11, but yeah, totally making a comeback.
Yep. We got Goobs in the lemon Lamborghini that Jadier was racing in last season. The Ripper is driving the Lamborghini as well. And we then got Adalexis. He is in the Mercedes AMG. We then got Murph87, also in the Mercedes SLS. Yamo, or Jamo, we haven't quite figured out how to quite pronounce his name as of yet, but there seems like there's a lot of fans of his in the chat. He is driving the Lamborghini Huracan this season. Godfather of Shift is driving in the Porsche 911. Ooh, nice to see.
Little return for him. Yeah. He's not been around for a few seasons now, but he was one of the guys that could challenge for podiums back when he was here, so interesting to see how he'll get along.
Definitely. And again, got Kovacs David in the Lamborghini as well. Benazili making a return in the Mercedes AMG. Gamisuk is in the Lamborghini once again. Lusty has dropped his BMW M6 from season 11, has taken up the Bentley Continental GT3 car. I got Pantera in the Porsche 911 as well. 2 Desert Pack returning once again in the Audi R8 LMS. Mr. Van Orman has returned for season 12. He is also in the Lamborghini and looks like he is going to be Jardier's teammate, and now I've got to try and figure out who we haven't done because everyone's shuffled the list again. So we've covered Dow King, covered Cryptic, Villalobos there in the AMG, Suomi, he's one that we haven't picked up on yet in the Audi, CJB we've covered, Jardier we've obviously covered, the returning champion, but we've hit on Empower. He is in the Mercedes AMG, and I believe that might be his first season in GT3. I don't think he did GT3 last season. Yeah,
I believe you are right.
He has done the Endurance Leagues in both the Season 4 of the Endurance League and then also Season 1 of the IMSA Lights League that we're running on Thursday evenings. Capo is one that we haven't picked up on so far in the Lamborghini.
Yeah, worth pointing out with Capo that he's the reigning Tier 2 champion from Season 11 in the GT3 leagues. So,
excellent, so he's
taking a step up.
Yeah, that'd be good to see how he performs here in Tier 1 for Season 12. The Birdski in a Lamborghini, we haven't mentioned him yet. The Ace we've hit on, JK we have, the Kuza we have, Yama we have, Guibs we have, the Ripper we have, Gamersup we have, same with Godfather Shift, and Covers David, Benazili, Adalexis. Sorry, I'm just flicking through them real quick now, but I think that is going to be pretty much, that's everyone. 28 drivers.
28 drivers, not bad for the season opener here at Brands Hatch. Only one driver that hasn't had a time yet, that would be Pantera. He is, however, coming around the final corner now, so let's see where he can move up to. Here we go, across the line he goes. Is P28, and that might have been an outlap because he has not put a time on the board.
I think that may be the case. So now he's just got to try and keep it clean. He's got 2.5 minutes remaining in this qualifying session to actually get a lap in. Should mean that he should get 2 attempts. Obviously this one that he's on now, and then the following lap. Just looking up at the sharp end of the field, the operator, or THR operator, has gone fastest so far in his Mercedes AMG. He was just ahead of Dowking, who was only 800ths of a second to Cryptic. But operator is now taking that provisional pole. Let's jump back to Pantera, see where he is in the lap, coming down Pilgrim's Drop and into Hawthorne Bend. So he's coming in towards the last sector at the moment, providing he can keep it clean and not run too wide. Just about managing to hold on to it. Yeah, just about managing to hold on to it. He should be able to complete this lap and hopefully pop himself somewhere on the board. Also noticed that Mr. Van Orman is also seeming to struggle at the moment with his lap times, 11.5 seconds off the pace. That's not his usual pace. He's usually quicker than that. I'm guessing he's just battling with traffic.
Could be, of course, a tricky track to navigate traffic. It's a very short track, only 1:21. The best lap time on the board at the moment. Pantera goes and jumps up to P18 with his first timed lap of the session. He still has time to get one more on the board, so you might want to try and improve on that. As we have actually Dalking, I believe, has just jumped up to second place. He's 2.5 tenths off of the lead, or the provisional pole time of Operator at the moment. Very impressive from Operator. His debut in the GT3 leagues. I believe he's taken part in some of the Triple Crown events previously, at least one of them last season, but he has not driven in the GT3 league, so he's clearly looking to make a name for himself here in the season opener. The reigning champion Jardier all the way down in 7th place, which is worth noting. He is, of course, very used to starting on pole position, but he seems to be not quite up to his usual pace at the moment, which is very interesting to see.
Yeah, I imagine that he's going to be looking to try and improve his lap time, as the operator is coming across the line now. He doesn't improve his lap time, but he's got one more lap into the final 20 seconds. So he's got another chance, as has the Lamborghini behind, which I believe is Capo. Yep, the previous Tier 2 champion who has moved up. So he's in for another lap, and it's going to be Dowking, who isn't going to improve his position. He's going to be in P2 at best.
Indeed. As Jardier has gone up to P4, yeah. He's improved then on his final run in the session. To at least start a bit higher up than 7th. So we have Operator still on track, we have Villalobos still on track, Suomi is back in the pits in P6, TMG Cryptic, of course, yeah, has gone back to the pits in P5, so he's not going to improve any longer. Villalobos then might be the closest challenger for Operator as he stands, but he is going slowly, so he has also ended his run in this qualifying session. It seems to be Operator will be on pole position, and he's also aborted his final attempt.
Yep, unless ADH can pull something out the bag. He's not going to if he dives into the pits like that. So Capo is the next place man in 13th place, who could see himself working him up higher into the standings. So he's going to be across the line now, and he does not improve his position. Not entirely sure if he improved his time. Pantera jumps back to the pits. Godfather of Shift has done his lap. Nastorovic, he is next to come across the line with another car there behind him. And Nastorovic pops himself up into 15th. Very nice gain there.
Could be some crucial positions gained there for Nastorovic at the end of the session. A lot of drivers in the field, and THR Operator then. A double THR front row, actually. Operator and Dalking taking out the front row for the season opener in season 12. Villalobos going to start third. Jadir, the reigning triple champion, starting in P4. Then Cryptic, Suomi, CJB, Empower, Taberdsky, and Gibbs in the top 10. Bo, ADAs, Capo, Mr. Venomen, Nastorovic, Pantera, Murph, JK, Dakusa, the fan favorite, Jamo, down in 20th place for this for the grid. Then Tudesapak, Gamasuke, Godfather Shift on his return down in 23rd. The Ripper, Kovacs David, Benicili, Lucy, and Adalexis rounding off the massive 28-car field.
Yep, just noticing also the Ripper does have a 1 grid place penalty as well to his name, so that probably would have been for speeding in the pit lane, I think, possibly disengaging the pit limiter just a little bit too early.
Could well be. So then here we have the full field of drivers. There's so many drivers on the grid that we cannot even see the back of the fields from this curved main straight at Brands Hatch. There we go. That's a better camera for it. A long distance between the last car on the grid and the first car on the grid.
So close. Let's try that.
Come on. There we go. This could be the camera that will show all the cars on the grid. Will it zoom out enough? No, I don't think it will.
Let's go. Let's go there. See if we've got the camera lined up just enough to get the entirety of that Mercedes in at the bottom. Alas, we do not.
Oh, there's so many cars. Go.
There is a lot of them. Though.
Great to see, though. Great to see, though. And so many colours as well. I'm liking the livery variants in this season. Bit of yellow, quite a lot of red, bit of blue even. See an orange McLaren back there as well.
Yep. Couple of greens. There's quite a lot of grey and dark shaded black cars as well. Notice that Mr. Van Orman and the reigning champion Jardier are both in black Lamborghinis from the Pirelli World Championship liveries. But yeah, we're just waiting for this 2-minute period prior to the race to basically finish, where the guys get the opportunity to double check their car setups, their pit strategies, make sure that they have everything all set for round 1 here. And there is everybody set and ready, so we should be going to the green lights, but the drivers will not be going racing upon the green light.
Certainly, because we are going to be having a manual rolling start, as has become the norm in the AOR GT3 leagues. So it's going to be a formation lap, essentially, where Operator will now lead the field through a lap at a relatively slow pace. You have the opportunity, while in single file, to warm the tires a little bit. That's why you see some of the cars weaving about on the straights. And then it will eventually, later in the lap, form up in a 2x2 formation before we get back round to the main straight and the poleman can slam his foot to the floor and get the race going. Shout out to everyone who has joined the stream and watching the season opener of season 12 in the PCT1 League. Nice to have you all along, and let's hope we're going to have some good action on track and a lot of cars finishing and battling throughout this race.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to see the variety of cars. Last year the Lamborghini was a very popular choice, and it is again this season. I believe there's about 12 cars that are Lamborghinis, So that is the majority of the field, and the rest are kind of mostly AMGs, but obviously we've got the Bentley, we've got Porsches, there's a few Audis in there, and there's a couple of McLarens in there as well. So it's good to see a little bit of variety this season. Quite interestingly, although we've unbanned the Ferrari, no one has picked it for season 12.
That is really interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonder what that is. That was, of course, one of the... Well, it was the popular car before it got banned.
It was.
But well, still a nice mix of cars in the field, and I'm not sure we have ever seen a top 3 Mercedes qualifying. To be honest, might have well happened, but certainly not in recent times, as the cars seem to be going at a very fast pace around the final corner. Might have just been the camera angle making it look like that. But either way, operator will now be getting ready to put his foot to the floor and get the first round of season 12 in the AOR PCT1 League underway. And here we go for the start. All 28 cars piling down into the first corner. Villalobos trying to pressure for P2, but oh, there was a bit of lag there. Nearly hitting Jardia, but they're going to be side by side coming up to the second corner. Heavy braking zone for what is essentially a hairpin. A lot of 2 wides going through here, and so far so good in terms of contact. It seems like everyone has managed to keep it clean at the start, which is great to see. And no major position changes, although Jardier did manage to get the position on Villalobos up to P3, so he must have gone around the outside then of turn 2 to make that one stick. And a lot of side-by-sides further down the field. That is Gamisuka going up the inside through the uphill right hand. Oh no, there's a Porsche facing backwards through the corner. The Bentley slammed into the back, but as I just shot the Porsche off the track, there's a Mercedes off as well. Unfortunately, there has been a collision. Luckily, it has happened quite far down the field, so it's only been a few cars collected, but that is not a good place for an incident to happen. And unfortunate for those cars that got involved.
Yeah, it was very, very good racing by a lot of the guys up to that point. Oh, as we see Suomi getting a little bit sideways there, coming out through the exit of Sheen's curve. Did manage to hold on to it though. He did drop his wheels out onto the grass. I think he has lost the position to M-Power, but yeah, that was very good clean start for the first half of the lap. Very impressive to see as we see one of the drivers coming into the pits, be Dabrowski in his green Lamborghini. I believe he could be just coming in to serve his mandatory pit stop. I believe it's mandatory pit stop again for this season. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, I believe the regulation, we're gonna have to double check, but I believe the regulations are the same as it was in season 11, which basically means that the drivers have to do 1 mandatory pit stop throughout the course of the race, and that would make sense why we're seeing a lot of cars into the pits at the end of lap 1 to sort of play the strategy, try to get out of the traffic a little bit, although when you got so many cars doing that strategy, it might not quite work out for those wishing to get out of the main pack. So it's essentially going to split the pack in 2. It's going to be the main pack that haven't pitted, and then it's going to be quite a few already that have made their pit stop in this race. Yep.
Pretty good, interesting strategy by a number of the guys. Obviously, try and get themselves in clear air to do a little bit of better free running, as we see Villalobos in front of us having a little bit of a laggy moment, but M-Power all over the back of the Mercedes in front of him. As we jump back a little bit further to Bo in the McLaren, he's got CJB there in front of him with that is Cryptic, who is the lead McLaren at the moment in 7th place.
Cryptic's dropped a few positions, I think, from where he started. I think he's qualified 5th, didn't he? But he was previously down to 8th, so he has to repass CJB to get back up to 7th at least. Still under pressure though.
It's very good stuff so far. As we got another pitter through the form of Benazili. Jumping back, oh, we got Nestarovic and Murphy going hammer and tongs at each other as Nestarovic is having a look to the inside, coming up into Surtees. Will be able to get the move stick. It looks like it's going to be pretty clean and is able to do so, and JK has actually benefited from that as well. Also managed to gain a position. Ooh. So that is Murph. Sorry, not Murphy. That is Murph who has almost lost 2 positions, but is coming back at JK, coming into the long sweeping right-hander, and he is going to have to settle in behind. It's a pretty difficult corner to go 2x2 through there, but yeah, unfortunately losing 2 positions in the space of just a couple of corners.
impressive move from JK there at that corner to grab the position. And Murph, of course, we did have a Murphy racing in the league in some of the previous seasons. He doesn't seem to be part of the grid for this season. However, Murph was the second place driver in the standings in Tier 2 last season. So he's another one who's come up to Tier 1 and looking to make a name for himself in the top tier.
Yep, just riding on board with Pantera, who's going to act as our cameraman for the moment as we are looking at the battle between Tier 2's champion last season, Capo, and I believe that is Gibbs, who was in front of him. I thought for a moment that it may have been Gemasuk, but then the tag wouldn't have quite matched up. Pantera, though, our cameraman, is having a look to the inside of Capo coming in, but not quite able to make the move stick. However, he's got a little bit of a run on him. Coming out through the exit, he's going to be picking up the slipstream here. Will he be able to mount a challenge into the very fast sweeping right-hander? He doesn't look like he's going to go for it. Instead, he's just going to follow him through for the moment in the dirty airs. But it's having a look to the inside. He thinks better of it again, though. Coming into Westfield Bend, now going down through Dingledale and up into Sheen's Curve. Again, still just following the Lamborghini, although the Lamborghini's gone wide. This could be his opportunity to go around the outside, and he does. He slots himself up into 12th place, demotes Capo down into 13th, but Capo is not going to give up without too much of a fight.
No, well, it's a good move though, but there's a huge crap going on ahead as well. Pantera actually dives into the pit. Was that Capo, I should say, diving into the pits after being overtaken. And this huge scrap though is going on. AVS under loads of pressure, and is in the gravel briefly as I'm having some major lag issues right now.
Yep, I'm having the same as well. Seems like there's a few cars that are still going. That is a huge chunk of people that we have just lost.
Had a lot of issue there.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, we are doing a double formation lap. I believe Villalobos is still having lag issues, so he's been asked to essentially sit this race out.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, he was lagging. He was the main sort of laggy car on the previous attempts at getting the race going. So I guess that is fair enough. Unfortunately, you have to have a pretty good connection to race in league racing. That's how it is. It's better for the rest of the guys at least to not have to worry about that.
Yeah.
With Yorkie, are we actually going to get a race?
Hopefully, fingers crossed. Obviously, we're doing a double formation lap. This is the second of the two, so we should be forming up 2 by 2 relatively soon, and hopefully we'll have everyone all good to go. Obviously, we will need to be pretty cautious in the first couple of corners because the guys probably have cooler tyres and cooler brakes than they would have had previously as well. So hopefully the guys will be mindful of that.
Yeah, because going slow on 2 laps in a row makes the tyres suddenly cooler than just doing one lap of formation. So hopefully all the drivers will be able to keep that in mind and be extra cautious down into the first few corners. We don't want to repeat of what happened so let the second race start. But yeah, of course, Villalobos having qualified in 3rd, not doing the race means that Jadier will be starting 3rd, and everyone behind as well will be up 1 position from where they qualified. It's the whole field of now 26 cars is coming around the final corner. An operator for the 3rd time tonight will be putting his foot down to start the race. Seems like everyone has actually formed into their positions for the starting time, and here we go. 3rd time's the charm, hopefully, as operator leads the field down into the first corner. Dalking under pressure from Jadier on the inside, but once again he keeps hold of P2. Jadier has Cryptic for company, and Cryptic's got Suomi in the Audi, steaming down the inside. Oh, and can he get that moved on? It seems like Cryptic has braked very, very late to keep it round the outside. Got a little bit on the curb though. But for the time being, he is holding on to P4 at Alexis towards the back in 24th there. Cryptic still defending that 4th place position on the inside into, that would be
Surtees,
of course, coming back straight. The longest straight on the circuit. The whole field seems to be getting through cleanly, and as I say that, there was a car that being pushed off on the grass slightly. But he managed to get down, and nearly pushing another car off the track. But no spins or crashes or damage caused so far. Let's hope it stays that way.
Yep, certainly seems that the guys have had a much better run this time than the previous 2 attempts. So far, we haven't seen any contact between the drivers, obviously them being a little bit more cautious, as we're seeing a number of cars going side by side through the back section of the Brands Hatch GP circuit that we are racing here. Let's jump a little bit further up the field as we're seeing the Birdski, and I believe that is Gibbs.
Run outside.
Round the outside as the Ace is gaining positions. We've got a couple of drivers into the pits. So who do we have? We have the Birdski and Mr. Van Olmen also pulling the same strategy as he did in the first race of getting that pit stop done and out the way early, as we're seeing 2 Desert Pack try to go around the outside of the Bentley of Lusty in turn 1. Not quite working at the moment, and I think he may have to settle in behind in turn 2, which is exactly what he does, and tries to get a better run coming off the exit of the corner.
Yeah, so nice little battle, the Audi against the Bentley, the sole Bentley in the field, I believe, for Lusty. Should go back up to M-Power in 6th place, right on the back of Suomi, who has not managed to make a move on Cryptic. Jardier as well, but once again you can see the top 2, Operator and Dalton, streaking away, as that was Suomi getting very out of shape and putting M-Power off a little bit as well. And he's getting very close now. Suomi just putting a couple of tires on the grass there, I believe, and getting all out of shape. Luckily saved it rather than slamming it into the wall. It's very easy to do around this track, and of course it's an easy track to get punished if you make a little mistake, because there is grass everywhere you look around the track, apart from a couple of places where there's a rather bit of gravel instead. But yeah, if you go off the track, it is very easy. It will end up badly. Oh, there has ended up badly back there for someone. Who is that? Has had a big crash at the final corner, and another little touch going into the pit lane. That is Pantera.
And also 2 Desert Pack.
The Desert Pack, who's had some kind of calamity going on towards the back of the pack. Carp was well going through the pits.
Yeah.
So of course, yeah, you'd expect for those 2 guys who came together that the pit stop was not really scheduled, but they essentially did it to fix whatever damage they might have gotten on their cars. For Capo, it might have been a scheduled pit stop for strategy purposes, as we saw earlier as well. A lot of cars pitting early in the race to get their mandatory pit stop out of the way, and a few guys have done that once again.
Yep, certainly seems so. So jumping back up towards the sharper end of the field. At the moment, M-Power in 6th position. There's a few guys actually picked up penalties so far, so let's take a quick look at those. CJB's got a 1 second penalty, Game of Soak 2 seconds, 1 second for Takuza, and then 1 second for Capo as well. All of them with just small time penalties at the moment, which would have been for track limits. Obviously, with all the jostling on that first lap, with a lot of guys in very close proximity, it's quite difficult to actually move out the way without severely hindering someone and putting your own car at risk, as we see M-Power getting a little bit sideways through turn 1, as was Suomi. Suomi going a little bit deep though, coming into turn 2. It's allowing M-Power to close up and not get his nose up alongside to try and make a move coming into the turn. CJB in the Lamborghini. It's about just over half a second, about 8 tenths. They're lurking behind, but at the moment, at the front end of the field, it seems like the 2 teammates of Operator and Dowking running away with this race in the 2 Hot Wheels AMGs.
Yeah, it certainly seems like they have something that the other guys don't have around this track. Absolute incredible pace from these guys at the front. Dowking just following Operator at the moment. And yeah, just helping each other, I guess, to pull away from the rest of the field. They clearly have the pace to do it. 2.5 seconds now from the leader down to Jardier in P3. Jardier then has a further second down to Cryptic. But look at this, Dalking's actually getting close. I wonder if Dalking is looking to at some point at least, try and go for a move. But oh, I see, has had a big drift. Somehow kept a lot of speed, but yeah, it looked like his car was going to go sideways there for a moment. But good car control from Dalking to control that.
Yeah, one thing that I've noticed actually in the endurance leagues that we've been doing on Thursday nights previously is the direction of the car seems to actually match what the drivers are doing. However, the wheels do turn in slightly unusual directions from time to time. So, although he probably was managing a little bit of a slide, I don't think it was quite as dramatic as either that or what we were seeing in turn 1. I could be completely wrong though, because he is sat in the dirty air of his teammate in front of him, and obviously with that he will be losing downforce. But yeah, I don't think the front tyres are quite 100% representative of what the driver's inputs actually are.
Yeah, well, Dalking, of course, from last season in the Lamborghini, is famed for his overstay moments, especially on the braking.
That's true.
He had quite a bit of sideways going on through season 11. But yeah, so far, apart from that one little moment that looked a little bit interesting, he seems to have full control at the moment, and actually almost looking faster than operator. But, oh, that was an air collision. As who was that going into the pits?
That's Gamasuke.
Gamasuke, Yamo nearly collecting him, but Yamo's gained 7 positions from where he started now. So doing a good job on his debut in the league. That's Gamasuke, yeah. This is another one to do his mandatory pit stop early in the race. So only the top 16 now have not pitted. Everyone from 17th place and down have already been through the pit lane. So Capo is going to be the lead pitter so far in the race.
Yeah, I think he was...
Yeah, I mean, lots of clear air for him, which certainly will help as well.
Yeah, I think Capo was in around 10th, 11th position, I think, in and around when he made his pit stops. Mr. Van Orman that is hunting down Dubertsky. In front of him, the two Lamborghinis. They've got Nastovic and also Gamasuke. So Gamasuke has come back out in 20th place at the moment, but obviously he'll be much further up the field once the other guys have made their pit stops, providing that he can keep the pace that he is aiming. Empower and Swimmy have swapped positions. Empower now up into 5th.
So they have, yes. Suomi hasn't seemed too comfortable so far in this race, I have to say. He's made a few little mistakes, and has now been passed as well by Empower. And is under pressure, in fact, from CJB. He, of course, has his 1 second penalty, but doesn't need to mean much. It's very early in the race, of course. Other guys could pick up penalties as well. And CJB looking to gain some positions. As I say that, he has just dropped from my timing screens.
He's dropped from mine as well. And he's not there present. So I think we may have lost
CJB then.
Yeah.
Just as it was looking like he was going to go for a bit of a challenge on Suomi, he has unfortunately lost connection to the lobby, and that is a shame for his season to start like that.
Something else to note, Dalking is now in 4th place.
Oh.
He's dropped off the back of his teammate and lost 2 positions. He's also got a time penalty of 2 seconds.
What has happened there then? Well, he was prone last season to making mistakes. He had blistering pace as well in season 11, but had a habit of making quite a few mistakes that did cost him quite a bit of points in the championship throughout the season, and it seems to have happened again. We didn't quite see what's happened, but yeah, he's dropped about nearly 5 seconds then, as he was right up the rear wing of the operator. And now has a bit of a comeback drive on his hands, and of course with 2 seconds of penalties as well. But we know he has the pace, but he's going to have to make some moves at a circuit where overtakes aren't exactly easy to come about.
No, you kind of need to rely on the other driver to make a mistake more than anything, especially through the back section. There is a couple of places where you can pick up the slipstream and get yourself in and alongside, namely turn 1 and turn 2. Obviously turn 3 is an okay overtaking position. If you get a very good run off the final turn, you're kind of thereabouts. through turn 2 as well. But other than that, you're kind of looking for a mistake from the driver in front of you to really get a good run. As we're on board with 8 the Ace at the moment, looking at the back of Gibbs in his Lamborghini there directly in front of us as we're coming through this back section of Brands Hatch. Very high speed, very fast flowing section. It's very rewarding when you do get it right, but it is a pretty difficult place to overtake. But 8 the Ace sat there within a car length and actually almost making Gibbs go a little bit defensive coming into the final turn there.
Yes, indeed, and he's got a good run on the main straight as well. Gibbs was thinking about going defensive into the final corner, and this time though, no, it's not really going defensive. He switched back quite late to the racing line. Maybe caught ADS off a little bit, but he's still putting the pressure on. Will he go for a little dive into turn 2? No, he thinks better of it. Chooses to play it safe. Does 8 the Ace. Probably good choice, I would say, at this early point in the race. No need to take huge risks. And of course, if he does manage to get past Gibbs and he has the pace on him, then there's quite a bit of clear air ahead that he could utilize to try and close up even further on the top 6. But ADS now onto the back straight, didn't quite get as close this time. So he's going to have to be patient through the fast-flowing corners once again, where you can't really overtake. Through here, it's all about just staying close to your rival and trying to, just be in a good position to overtake when you get back out to the straights. Of course, these corners are even harder when you are following someone, because it's harder to see the apex, especially that one that just went through there. It's kind of a blind apex, and especially when you've got another car just in front of you as well. It's not exactly making it any easier. And once again, though, ADA is getting a fantastic exit off of the penultimate corner. Gibbs this time going fully defensive. ADA is going for the cutback line and has gotten a much better run down the main straight. Has claimed that inside line, and I think that is what it's going to take for ADS to move up into P7, and he does make the braking stick, as well as Gibbs gets a little bit sideways but keeps hold of it, and that is moved on for ADS up into P7.
Yep, very good move there, and I think he'll be very, very happy with that one. I think Gibbs in a couple of places was on the marginal side of being a little bit too aggressive with his defensive maneuvers, and may or may not have, not entirely sure, it's quite hard to judge, but yeah, it seemed like he may have made one or two moves too many, but ADS will be happy with that move up into 7th place, as you say. We'll jump back up to Empower, Dowking and Cryptic, the battle for the final podium position. As hearing reports in the chat that Dowking had a slight half spin on the exit of turn 3, which is what caused him to lose his positions, drop down into 4th place. But Empower there in that blue Bilstein liveried Mercedes AMG is closed up onto the back of Dowking, and will be looking to try and gain some more positions in the upcoming laps, as Jardier doesn't really seem to be holding too much of a candle. Like, oh my god, Dowking!
Goodness me!
Getting very sideways as Empower is now surely moving up into 4th place.
Jesus, I think, that time Dowking was definitely sideways through turn 1. He did manage to save it once again, but not without losing a position to Empower, who is now up into 4th place. And is looking very, very strong in this race on his debut, I believe, in the GT3 leagues. So Dowking, I wonder if his early spin maybe took some life out of his tires as well. So he's clearly struggling at the moment. Jardier is actually getting a couple of tenths back, I believe, on Operator. It has to be said, Jardier is not really dropping off to the extent he was in the early laps. Operator and Dowking at that point got up to 2.5 seconds on the gap to Jardier very early on, but since then it's only Operator's only gained a couple of more tenths. So Jardier is picking up some pace, and well, either Jardier is picking up some pace or Operator is just chilling out a little bit. It's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, we shall see with their lap times this time round. As yes, 23.6 for Operator and a 23.7 for Jardier. So they are both still on the pace. It's just the odd tenth or two difference here or there every now and then. I believe Dale King has fallen off the back a little bit from Empower. But Empower is actually a very strong driver. He is very, very quick and is renowned as a bit of an alien by a number of drivers here at AOR. So we can see that as well with Empower closing up towards the back of Crichton, because once again Dale King getting all kinds of traction issues coming out the exit of Surtees there. I know that generally the guys like to run the cars pretty loose, as that is the way that they find their lap time and their speed, but I don't think they want the car quite as loose as what Dale King has it here in this race.
Yeah, well, I certainly wouldn't feel comfortable driving a car that wants to drift out in every corner and every tracking zone. No. Dale King is having to deal with that at the moment. Not quite getting drips with that Mercedes. I mean, it is, of course, his first race in the car. Maybe it will get better as the season goes along as well. And once again, tiny bit sideways there. I mean, he clearly has a pace, having qualified in P2, only a couple of tenths off operator, and ahead of the reigning 3-time champion Jardir, of course. But yeah, the race has not quite got a plan for him at the moment. Let's see, are there any other close battles on the circuit? Gibbs is still holding on to the back of ADAs after being passed a few laps ago. ADAs trying to utilize that clear ahead of him as Murph in 10th place behind JK. Two guys that have not yet pitted. They're in a relatively close battle. Mr. Van having a car a second or so in front of him and a car a second or so behind. That would be Capo in 14th and God help me out, who's 16th?
Dabrowski.
Dabrowski, that's the one, yeah. Interesting name, that.
Yeah.
I like it.
And then Benazili and Godfather of Shift are really the only other two drivers who are relatively close at the moment. I think the battle between Gibbs and ADA seems like the two closest drivers at the moment, so we'll see if Gibbs can mount a challenge on ADA. He doesn't seem to be letting him go too much at the moment. One thing that I didn't notice was Suomi was closing up onto the back of Dale King, actually took 4 tenths out of him on the previous lap. I'm wondering if we'll get a slightly more updated timings. We do, and Dale King has managed to eke 3 tenths back out of that gap, whereas ADAs and Gamasuk setting near identical lap times. It's just a few hundredths of a second between the two of them, as they're running in 7th and 8th position currently.
I have to say, the top 5 are running incredibly consistently and close at the moment. Operator 123.4, Jardir 123.5, Cryptic 123.5, Empower 123.4, and Dale King 123.4.00, so just about the fastest out of everyone on that particular lap. And even I mean, all of the top 8 in the 23s as well. And Alexis down in 13th was in the 23s, so was Mr. Van Ommen and Dabrowski as well. Of course, worth remembering that everyone from 14th place and down have done their mandatory pit stop. Everyone in the top 13 still have to go through the pits at some point in this race.
Is ADA still in stop?
ADA surely has not done his stop now.
He's 32nd. Yeah, okay. Maybe not. I think he must have had some issues somewhere along the line. I know he was up in and around. He started around P10, so he's had some issues because he's effectively at the back of the grid. There's a couple of drivers who have left, Lusty and Jardier. Both retired.
Oh no!
Just saying.
Oh, what's happened there? Jardier, running P2, has disappeared from the session. That is huge. It seems like everyone else are carrying on. Murphy's in the pit, down in 11th place, as Cryptic is under all sorts of pressure from Empower for what is now the new battle for P2. Jardier was running a couple of seconds ahead of these guys before. So, rip Jardier indeed. Yeah, that is big shame. And we have 21 cars remaining in the field. with about half the race run now, worth remembering as well that points are scored for the top 18. You get 50 points for a win, you get 44 for a second place, and then it gradually goes down with a smaller and smaller gap between each position, down to, actually no, it is down to P20 now, that scores points for this season. And there of course one bonus point as well for pole position, which operator has already claimed. But yeah, big shame for Jardir, and I believe, as you said, Lusty, who was further down, but also dropped out of the session.
Yeah, seems like CJB's also had issues as well. I've seen him pop up into the chat. So unfortunately we're down to 21 drivers now. Zenpower's getting ever closer to the back of Cryptic there in front of him. There you can see the gap, roughly about a car length and a half to 2 car lengths. But yeah, through this back section he's not really going to have a chance to make an overtaking opportunity unless Cryptic makes a mistake. So far Cryptic has been pretty smooth on the run through, although he did kind of straddle that curb a little bit awkwardly there on the exit of Westfield Bend. Oh no, there goes Cryptic. Commentator's curse. I'm sorry Cryptic, my man. I was saying that he hadn't made a mistake so far, and then on the exit of Sheen's just caught the grass on the outside. Actually no, I think he bounced the curb on the inside, and he just, yeah, the rear end of the car just came round a little bit. But that's gifted Empower P2 up from around 7th or 8th position, I seem to recall his starting grid spot.
Yeah, I think he was in around 6th or 7th. So actually making good progress now, up into 2nd place, and there's a bit of a train though behind him. Of course, Cryptic that he just got past, Dalking is very close behind, and we know the pace that he can have. And Suomi as well seems to have gotten back in love with his Audi, and is putting in some good laps now to catch up to the. Never mind, he's now fallen off the track a little bit.
I think we need to stop talking about drivers.
Yeah,
I think we're just making them.
Okay, let's do a commentary of a race without talking about drivers.
Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise everyone's going to fall off the track as soon as we mention their name.
Yeah, there's soon to be commentators curse left, right, and centre. Let's see, Gibbs is falling a little bit from the rear of the Ace in front of him. The Budski's nice and close to the back of JK. There's a little battle that we should probably watch and monitor to see how this one unfolds.
Indeed, watching from the front bumper then of the Budski. Wasad has made his pit stop, so has JK. So has Murphy, that you can see a bit further up the road. Murph, I should say, not Murphy. My bad. Budski though, staying close into the fast flowing section in the middle of the lap. No way past here. Has to keep his focus, nail those lines, and hope he is still close once I get out of it. The penultimate corner now. We've seen quite a few drivers make mistakes in this sort of section of the track. JK keeping it nice and clean so far. The Budski as well, staying relatively close, but I think JK is not fearing any immediate danger in this particular battle. And certainly the Budski is not going to be close enough to make a move on this straight. So now it's the has Mr. Van Ommen been through the pits?
He has, yes. It was one of the first pitters he pitted on lap 1.
Right, so Mr. Van Ommen then is essentially the leader of the pitters so far in this race, running P10. So that'll be interesting. That is Jardir's teammate, the only remaining driver from that team, unfortunately. At this point in the race, we are now on lap 20 out of 38. There's still a long way to go as we're going to bring up the scoreboard with some penalties. Empower with a 2 seconds, Dalking now with a 4-second penalty. Mr. Van Ommen as well, 4 seconds for him. This is surely all down to track limits, just pushing a little bit too hard in certain places. Capo, 2 seconds, the Budski 1 second, Gamisuke 2 seconds, and Bakusa 1 second as well.
Yep, that's what I was just having a look at because I saw that pop up on my race feed to inform me that Mr. Van Ormen had gotten a race penalty. He seems to be doing pretty good lap times though at the moment. His previous lap was a 23.4, so he's on pace with the leaders. As this time round, the leaders are doing 23.4, 23.5s, as TMG doing a 24.3, and we have Alexis is in the pits. For a moment I thought that was going to be the ace, but it wasn't. So Alexis making his pit stop. He's down to 16th place, potentially 17th, maybe 18th as well. This is going to be pretty close with a number of the guys.
Yeah, unfortunately it's just come out right at the back of the train there. So
yep.
That is not quite what he had hoped to see when he came back out of the pits.
No, but at least he's now served his stop. He doesn't have to worry about that, and it is just a pure straight fight with the guys on track who are there in front of him. Seeing JK with the Birdski still for company just behind him there, as we can see on track, pretty close between these two drivers. Just 2.5 tenths of a second separating the two as they bounce their way through the back section, sorry, not the final section of the circuit, as they're coming into the final sector right about now. And onwards they press to complete lap 21. Obviously we had the two formation laps at the beginning of the race, so 19 racing laps so far out of the 38 that we have in total.
Indeed. Now this battle is carrying on, and let's just update ourselves on the situation throughout the field. Operator is leading the race by about 6.5 seconds. Of course, the gap has extended a little bit with the Jardier's unfortunate disconnection. That is, yeah, just over 6 seconds to Empower, running in second place, and he's starting to pull away from Cryptic, who is chasing him, and under pressure still from Dalking in P4 and Suomi in P5, and yeah, they're losing ground.
Dalking getting sideways.
Dalking getting sideways, but at this point that is not really a surprise, I would say. He seems to be getting sideways more often than not, almost, at this point. Still keeping the speed though. I mean, he's keeping up with these guys, and he's keeping up with Cryptic ahead of him. So Dalking must be doing something right, despite the very aggressive driving style that he seems to be having in the Mercedes. But we have seen that he can overdo it, of course, as Jamo is coming into the pit lane to make his mandatory pit stop. Let's see if he can get in and out of his box without losing any unnecessary time. You wouldn't expect the tyre wear to be as such at this track that there will need any tyre changes, and you can see that was a very, very fast stop, so no new tyres for him, and no fuel added either, you would think, and straight back out on track into what is currently 14th position. Taking a bit of an inside curve there, but he's come out just behind Nesterovic, the Lamborghini, and the Birdski. This is the battle then ahead of Jamo and Nesterovic. The Birdski and JK is still going at it, but JK is still not putting any foot wrong, and the Birdski is struggling to make that move stick, even though it does appear to potentially be slightly faster than the car ahead at this moment in time. But JK is just holding his line, keeping consistent, keeping focused, not being faced by the very bright green Lamborghini in his mirrors. Doing a good job at the moment. So we are now at the point where only the top 7 have not made their pit stop, which is why you see a 22-second gap from Gibbs in 7th and down to Mr. Van Ormen in 8th. So we still have to wait to see where those guys will come out after making that stop.
Yeah, as I say, the Birdski was very close to the back of JK coming out the exit of turn 2 down towards turn 3, but the Birdski just dipped half a wheel onto the grass in Graham Hill Bend, which was just enough just to give him a little bit of understeering to turn 3, which dropped him a little bit. He has managed to close that couple of car lengths that he did drop back. He's managed to close those back up, although he's ran a little bit wide there in turn 1, so he's gone and lost those again. Oh, pardon me, just as I say that, but Yeah, this seems like probably the closest battle on track at the moment. The only other real fight on our hands is between Dowking and Cryptic, and Suomi's not too far there behind either. So there's a couple of little battles in this race to keep an eye on at this stage.
Yeah, certainly, and this is the highest one on the grid at the moment. Battle for the final podium position. Cryptic, Dowking and Suomi still going at it, and Dowking is still sliding his way through corners. That was one of the smoothest ones I've seen for him, has to be said. Not quite close enough to go for a dive, as this Cryptic is also having a little bit of an overstay moment there. Dowking getting very, very close, but these corners are tight and the straights are not long. So let's see if Dowking can make anything here. He's very close coming into... Oh, and he's gone for it as well, going up the hill at the left-hander. Cryptic trying to hang it around the outside for the exit. Who's going to get a better run down the straight? Is the Mercedes going to have more power than a McLaren? This is a fight down the straight, and the Mercedes has won out. Dowking back into the podium positions ahead of Cryptic. He tried to fight back, but Dowking was committed with that dive up the inside at 30s, and then made it stick on the straight down towards Hawthorne Bend. So good job from Dowking, and let's see now if he can close the gap back on Empower. Although he has lost quite a bit of time behind and trying to get past Cryptic, of course. Empower now nearly 3.5 seconds ahead of him. Actually, over 3.5 seconds ahead of him. Oh, that is Cryptic then, going into the pit lane. He's decided he needs a little bit of a break. And that's going to be interesting. You'd expect Cryptic to come out ahead of all the other guys that have pitted so far. And I think he will, by quite a margin.
We shall see. Mr. Van Orman is, coming up towards the final turn, whereas Cryptic is coming out towards the exit of the pit lane. So you can see the difference. I think Mr. Van Orman had to battle his way past a couple of cars during the pit stop phase, but you can see a gap of 7 seconds between the two at the top there as Cryptic rejoins the circuit. It's now unleashed Suomi to try and chase down Dowking there in front of him. Suomi has been there bang on the pace, but he's been sitting rather quiet. I think he's picked up a time penalty as well on the previous lap. He has. Indeed, that's why he's showing that he's got a 26.03 rather than a 25.03.
Still not a great lap though, so he's that's a little issue. Interesting.
We'll see what Suomi's pace is as he's coming around the final turn now. But I imagine he'll be in and around the 23s, the mid-23s that all the other top 4-5 drivers seem to be doing at the moment. There you go, a 23.6, closing up 0.3 of a second there or thereabouts on Dowking in front of him. So potential battle unfolding there for later on in the race.
Yeah, it's all about keeping the pace for those guys now, and hope that they'll be ahead of Cryptic, who also has clean air after having done his pit stop. Back with the battle between JK and Debertsky for 11th place in the race, and Debertsky is closer than he usually is at this point, looking to show his cars firmly in the mirror. His car firmly in the mirrors of JK, coming onto the main straight now. But it's not really much of a braking zone into the first corner, but he's thought about it a little bit there, and JK's gone immediately to the inside and closed that door that was open for just a split second. And Debertsky is still having to remain patient, but now you can see he's really trying to push to get close to JK and finally make that move that he's tried to make for, I don't even know how many laps at this point. They seem to be stuck to each other for most of the race, it has to be said. Let's see then if Debertsky, it's all about the exit out of 30s to get a run onto the back straight, and it does look like he's got a pretty good run. Can he grab a little bit of slipstream as well? Once again though, the corner at the end of it is not much of a braking zone, but JK is feeling the need to defend. Debertsky is not far enough alongside to try and hang it around the outside. Oh, that is very, very close into the braking zone. But Debertsky is not finding a way through. JK is determined to defend from the green Lamborghini. and he's doing a good job of it at the moment, and the Bursky as well, losing a bit of time there, missing that blind apex, and once again on the penultimate corner. So JK, a little bit of breathing space for him finally.
Yeah, it's only a couple of car lengths though. A couple more little updates. Benazili has got a time penalty of some sort, and the first record for the fastest first sector set by F.O.O.L on the previous lap, as he does a 23.3, so he's made a good half a second on Operator on the previous lap. The gap is now down to 4.5 seconds between the leading pair. He's extending that gap to Dow King behind. It seems like a lot of the other drivers have spaced out a little bit more as well, and it does certainly seem like that this pair that we are watching at the moment is the closest fight on circuit that we are able to observe. So we shall stick with these two and see how this battle continues to unfold, as this time Dubersky isn't quite close enough to mount a challenge on JK, but again getting very, very close in the braking zone. However, dropping off also a car length, running in the dirty air of that McLaren in front of him.
Yeah, this is the corner where I was losing ground on the previous lap. This time he's done it better and kept close. Let's see if he can get a run. Ooh, a little bit on the grass there. That's not going to help his exit, but he's managed to still carry a good amount of speed and line himself up through the final corner. Does seem like JK still has it covered for the time being. Bursky is doing the best he can, but just cannot find a way through. Brands Hatch proving to be a tough place to overtake for the green Lamborghini. As you'd expect, really. You have to... it's a track where you really have to do something special, usually, especially when you're battling a driver that is close to your pace. If he doesn't make a mistake, then you have to pull off something really great to actually get past. But has not quite found the key yet. Still got quite a bit of time to go though. There are 10 laps to go in the race, including the one we're on at the moment. And he has got once again a good run and a bit of slipstream as well. Maybe a bit more straight line speed in the setup. Coming down to the corner, but once again JK knows how to defend into the fast right-hander of Hawthorne's Ben. And as long as he just repeats the same move, there's really nothing Dubersky can do about it.
Dubersky gets a little bit loose there, I think, bouncing over the exit curb. Yeah, JK positioning it. Oh no, there goes Dubersky!
Oh!
Slamming hard into the wall. Hopefully you can gather that back up and get back onto the circuit. You can see the damage there on the front of his car after that contact with the wall there. He has now dropped off, obviously off the back of JK, and has dropped down into 14th place. He's got Godfather a shift, just over 4 seconds behind. Will he dive into the pits this time? He does not, he carries on, so I think he may feel that his damage isn't too bad and that he can continue on driving his pace. But yeah, that was very unfortunate. I was just saying that JK was placing his car very well in his bid to defend and hold on to his 11th place that he's currently holding.
Yeah, that is definitely now not how Dubersky was hoping that battle to end. It's just pushed a little bit too hard, and rather than getting past JK, yes, made a mistake himself, and now will be struggling with some front damage, but at least he's trying to stay out and try and keep the gap to the guys behind. So now looking at Alexis, who is trying to move up a spot that would be Ripper ahead.
Just getting a little bit loose there through Surtees. He did manage to gather it back up, but I think he has lost a little bit of ground. Suomi though, closing up on Dow King by about a second and a half on the previous lap. I think that may be due to penalties. Yeah, Dow King now up to 4 seconds.
He has had 4 seconds already, actually.
Oh, did he?
Oh. Suomi now has 2.
Maybe Dow King just got loose again somewhere, like he likes to do, and Suomi's been able to close up a little bit.
Yeah, because I think Dow King does have the pace on Suomi, but he does make a few more mistakes, it would seem. And yeah, not a great lap from Dow King last time out. His hunt to close the gap on Empower is fading well, certainly his hope for that is fading away. Empower, though, is certainly keeping pace with the leader at the moment. Previous lap, they were very close together, Operator and Empower. We haven't really looked at Operator much in this race at all, have we? Because it's just been running around. It's just lapped a back marker there as well. But yeah, Operator, what a debut he is having in this league. Absolutely fantastic drive for him. Pole to flag is what he's going for at the moment. Of course, he had Jardir previously around 3.5 seconds behind him before Jardir unfortunately got disconnected as the Porsche behind is also going sideways through 30s. But yeah, Operator's pace has really been solid in his debut race. Now that it's looking like 51 points for him after the first round. Empower as well, has to be said. He qualified, was it around 6th place, and has made some overtakes and is still only 3.8 seconds behind the leader. So if anything, that might be almost even more impressive, I would say, in terms of the race performance anyway.
Yeah, certainly. He seems to be closing up on this lap as well. The previous lap he closed up by 0.4 of a second, and the gap, we've been watching it, has continued to decrease as the lap has gone on us. We're seeing another back marker there diving into the pits. That would be the Ripper, I believe. It is. Good call there. And again, another half a second, 0.6 of a second out on the Operator from Empower on that previous lap. So Empower, certainly the man on the move, isn't done yet. 5 laps remaining, 6 including this one, or what's remaining of it. So it's got a little bit of time, but I think he's going to be a little bit hard pressed because obviously once he's actually caught up to Operator, he's then got to get past him.
Yeah, I mean, if he carries on the pace as he did, catching nearly 0.6 of a second, he might just have a chance to at least get close to him. But yeah, as you say, it's another thing to actually get past a car once you've caught him. And Operator will be no easy man to catch. What a debut he is having at the moment from pole position. But yeah, Empower is certainly up from 6th place and is looking very, very strong. Dalking is still in 3rd, running ahead of Suomi. Again, pulling away a little bit after making that little mistake. He's done a 1:23.2 as well. Very similar pace to Empower there on the previous lap. And then ADAs is around 11 seconds behind these guys, running a couple of seconds ahead of Gibbs. Still waiting for those guys to pit as well. Cryptic in 7th place is the lead car, the guys that have made their pit stop so far. And he has a big, big gap to Missa Van Ommen. His worry will be once Dalking and Suomi get out of the pits, whether they'll be ahead or behind. That is a big, big question at the moment. It does seem, at least based on the previous lap, that Dalking and Suomi is running slightly faster than Cryptic at the moment. Capo and Murph also running in a solid top 10 spot as it stands. JK, of course, now a bit more calm after the Birdski has dropped off the back of him with his moment earlier on. It's Nesterovic and Jarmo. Nesterovic pulling away slightly from Jarmo, it would seem. Jarmo running in 13th at the moment. Not really any threat from behind, not really catching the car ahead, but still some solid points, it looks like, for him on his debut. Oh, that's the car in the pits. Who was that?
That's the Ripper.
Ah, he's going to be a lap down then.
Yeah.
I believe that's the 2nd time he's been through the pits, probably.
I think so. I did mention that he was going into the pits a short while ago, but yeah, I think he may have either pitted again or he was just in for a lengthy stop. So jumping back up to the front with Empire at the moment, coming up to a little bit of lap traffic. It was a 10th slower that time than Operator on the previous lap, as the traffic gets very nicely out of the way for Empire. It's not going to hinder him in any way, shape or form, so it keeps that lead battle quite nicely alive and pretty much untouched between those two drivers, providing that the back marker didn't hold up Operator when
unfortunately
they came across him.
It seems to be have lost another driver. We're down to 20 cars now remaining which is
Gamisuke.
essentially the 20-point positions. The Gamisuke, do you remember what position he was running in?
I can't, unfortunately, off the top of my head.
Bottom,
no.
but yeah. Yeah, it also was bottom of the field somewhere, I believe. But yeah, unfortunate, of course, another guy presumably getting some connection issues with the lobby then. It's always a shame. These things. It's happened to Jadier, CJB, Lusty, and a few more guys, but yeah, sometimes the bad luck just kicks in. At least there's 20 drivers still on the track out of the 26 that started. And Murph is one of them, currently chasing Capo. Well, he doesn't really seems to be closing in. I mean, last lap he was 0.08 of a second quicker. So, I mean, he's closing, but I don't think he's going to quite get close to him at that rate. By the end of the race, it's only 3.5 laps for these guys remaining in the race, so it's not long a time indeed. And we have Gibbs from 6th place into the pit lane. And he might be close with Mr. Van Ommen, possibly. He's been passed by Cryptic. You heard his car coming down the main straight. And where is Mr. Van Ommen going to be? I believe Van Ommen is going to also get past him. There he goes, Jadia's teammate in the black Lamborghini for this season. Goes through into what is currently 7th position. Gibbs then. Will he be ahead of Capo? Is the question. And I believe he will. So from 6th to 8th with a pit stop for Gibbs. Oh, well, look at this.
Gibbs and Capo.
Gibbs. Yeah, coming out of the pit lane straight into a battle and having to defend, but he's managed to do it. But this could be an interesting one. And yeah, Capo suddenly getting lemon Lambo in his face and has some battling on his hands.
Yep. So obviously, whilst his eyes were probably looking backwards slightly at Murph behind, he's now got his eyes probably locked firmly in front. There we go, Suomi coming into the pits. One thing that's worrying me slightly is Operator, Empower and Dowking have all got to pit, so has Aid the Ace as well. They're yet to make their pit stop, so they will need to do that. Oh, actually, here comes Aid the Ace making his pit stop now. They will need to do that on this lap, as they are now on lap 37. They cannot do it on the final lap unless they want to be facing the stewards and getting DQ'd from the race, which would be an absolute shame, to be honest, because Operator has driven a very strong race from start to finish, as has Empower. Empower obviously the one making all the positions.
Let's hope they've read the rules and that they've kept an eye on the lap counter throughout this race. We will get the answer in just a moment.
I hope so. So Operator is coming through that second to last turn. Suomi is back out of the pit lane, just ahead of Cryptic. Ooh. TMG, these guys are very, very close, but Suomi was flashing the lights there, trying to communicate something. Operator is coming into the pits. So is Empower. Thank God that they did remember. And Dowking surely is also coming into the pits. Yes, finally. With his rear wheels spinning up and hanging out a nice angle from where his front tyres are going.
Yeah. Worth pointing out, Mr. Van Ommen has gone ahead of ADAce after ADAce was through the pit, so he's up to P6 now, with some good points for him, considering he started in 13th, I believe it was. So he's certainly made up some positions in the race. Empower now coming out of the pits, of course, so you'd expect in second place. Operator keeping his lead after the pit stop.
Oh, this is going to be close.
Dalking is going to be very close with the Cryptic, and Suomi and Cryptic's gone into the barriers at turn 1. And Suomi was also going wide there, and that has saved Dalking from being jumped by both of them. I'm not sure what happened there, but there must have been some kind of situation between Suomi and Cryptic that led to Cryptic smashing into the barrier, Suomi off the track as well, and Dalking has been saved. Cryptic's going to be really annoyed about that. Yeah,
I was trying to pick up Cryptic, actually, to use as a cameraman in that situation, but I accidentally clicked on Mr. Van Ommen, so that's probably why we missed it. But I think what I'm guessing has happened is Dalking was coming out of the pits. The two drivers kind of were there on the right and wanting to go around the outside. Probably just misjudged their braking points a little bit, and then obviously ran deep. Suomi was also off the road as well. But the Operator here on the final lap actually has Empower for pretty close company. The gap has closed up a fair amount on this lap.
If only we had a few more laps.
Yeah.
Could have been a battle potentially for the lead, but yeah, Operator's going to come around the final corner to win the season opener of Season 12 in the AOR GT3 League's PC Tier 1. Fantastic debut in the league for him. Only less than a couple of seconds ahead of Empower, who takes second place. And then Dalking's going to come home in third after that late pit stop and staying ahead of
no,
Suomi.
he's not.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, Suomi's got to be promoted to the podium because Dalking had more penalties.
Yeah. Just quick double check of that. Yeah, Suomi had 2 seconds. Dalking had 4 seconds. So obviously, being that close, they've gone and swapped positions. But yeah, Cryptic in 5th, Mr. Van Omen in 6th, 8th the Ace, 7th Gibbs has come across the line in 8th, Murph is 9th. Capo seems to be in 10th place with JK just coming across the line just in front of Nestalovic. Yamo, the fan favourite, coming home in 13th place. And here are the rest of the guys. Birdsky, Adalexis, Pantera, Dakuza, all coming across the line, and it seems like they're all holding their positions even though they've all got penalties as well.
That seems to be the case. Godfather Shiften is going to come out in 18th for a 3-point haul for him. Benicili is a few seconds further back. He's going to get a couple of points for his efforts. And then finally, a Ripper has already finished. He was a lap down. So that is that. 20 cars finishing after 26 started the race. Unfortunately, some guys were victims of connection issues, and that is, yeah, they drew the short straw, unfortunately for them. But Operator, with a very solid win, pole to flag on his debut in the GT3 Leagues. Empower in second place, ahead of Suomi, who got promoted due to Dalking's penalties. He'll be a little bit annoyed with himself for that, I'm sure, and also his spin earlier in the race when he was running just behind Operator in second place. Could have been a potential battle between those guys, who I'm guessing are teammates probably, just based on the fact that they both run the Mercedes with the Hot Wheels livery. I'm going to double check that.
I think they are.
Yeah. Team Hot Wheels for oh, that's the in-game team. So team, let's see, Team Highlands Racing. And then we also have that for Dalking and ZDS. They are teammates, and they will surely be leading the team championship after the first round. And Cryptic as well, an interesting race for him. Quite a bit of stuff going on around him, and of course into the barriers, going into the final lap of the race. Not quite how you want his race to end, but 5th place, still some solid points. And then Miss Van Omen, at least, as Jadir couldn't get to the end due to bad luck, at least his teammates managed to get some good points on the board. But that's going to be the end of the stream. Cheers to everyone who has tuned in for this very long 2 hour and 9 minute broadcast. It's been fun having you along, and cheers for the patience, those who stuck through the lobby restart as well. As Yoki said before, hopefully next week it will be no such issues, and we're going to have a full race with no disconnects and everyone getting to the end, and everything's going to be perfect fine, you know. That's what we want.
Yeah.
But it was still some good entertainment, and cheers as always to you, Yorkie, as well, for joining me in the box.
No problem. Thanks very much for having me, as always. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Indeed. And with that, we're going to say goodnight for now, and hope you'll join us for round 2 at Monza in 1 week's time. See you later, and good night.